You're Satan and your goal is to torment Gordon Ramsay. What food would you serve him? Before we start with the video, be sure to comment your answer, like this video, subscribe to channel and turn on notification bell. Just one microwaved hot dog on a slice of wheat bread and ketchup, but the gross watery part with very little regular ketchup. Oh, so my childhood, great. You got microwaved hot dogs? We got boiled ones. The boiled ones are much better, but sometimes I was just too lazy and microwaved them. A perfectly executed scallop risotto, but it sat on the pass for too long, and it's been reheated in the microwave for 15 seconds. I am generally a front of house worker. This entire thread hurt me. But this comment, this broke me. Is this bringing back bad memories? Just a few, but at the same time, I've been home so long, God, I miss being complained at. Sir, madam, I found a wig in my soup. I demand a refund and a free meal. And while you're at it, get me the manager so I can get you fired. You're welcome, buddy. Unfortunately, sir, miss, there are no wigs in this establishment. Clearly you put that there yourself. I would ask you kindly to finish your meal, pay, and leave. Thank you very much. Instead of that, Amy's baking company is revived and actually becomes successful, even expanding to a location near him. Everyone talks about how great it is and how he was wrong about it, then he is convinced to try going there again, and the owners haven't changed at all, while everyone around him insists that everything is great. That would be a serious WTF moment for him, as that was the first restaurant he ever walked out on in his shows, and having everyone insist they are great while nothing has changed would be a special kind of torture. Amy's baking company gets awarded 3 Michelin stars. 4. They get the first 4-star rating from Michelin. Michelin doesn't even bother to rate anyone else because they're all brought to their knees by how good Amy's cakes are. Someone who tweets needs to screenshot this discussion and send it to Gordon so he knows the Reddit has devised his personal hell. And expect Satan to send you a fruit basket as thanks. That's one last thing on his to-do list checked off. I'm sorry, Chef Ramsay. I don't actually think you're going to hell. Unless the devil borrows you from heaven to train his kitchen staff or make a technically perfect meal. I don't think anybody on Hell's Kitchen cooked scallops correctly the first time. And they're always fucking up the risotto. How does one fuck up risotto unless you refuse to give tea the attention it deserves? It's always amazing. To be fair, I can see how a lot of people would struggle the first few days. Really high-end restaurants, which most of them have never worked at, cook on very high heats in order to get better sears. It's one thing to cook scallops at medium heat, it's another when you literally only have 10 seconds between raw and burned, and you can't keep a timer next to you. Oh, yeah. I guess, coming from casual home cooking land, that would be incredibly difficult. I hadn't thought of that or known, to be honest. Most of them are professional cooks, but the kind of chefs that worked in small family restaurants or at holes in the wall that made classic food. Fine dining just very often employs much different cooking methods. For example, I make risottos at home in about 20 to 25 minutes. In Hell's Kitchen, Ramsay wants them out in 10 to 15. It's just a different beast. Whatever he asks for, expertly prepared, without a grain of salt. This is exactly what I thought. Everything is absolutely perfect, but there's no salt. Ramsay would see that the protein is cooked perfectly and draped over the most fabulous of garnishes, and it isn't seasoned. Being who he is, he'd bring it up. Sorry, we're trying to keep our blood pressure down, so we avoid using salt in the food. Next comes the soup. A fragrant aroma rises from a brisk medley of seasonal ingredients all prepared and combined with skill and precision that can only be described as art, but it's bland vacuous, there's no salt. This continues for years, decades, centuries even. Every dish completely perfect, except for the lack of salt. Ramsay is a broken man. Finally, ants on a log. In his entire life, he never saw a better stalk of celery or peanut butter made with so much care. Better yet, celery has salt in it. There's no way to get around it. Salt, it's fondant. Oh man, I just imagine biting into something expecting celery and getting fondant, and I'm having a hard time coming to terms with the massive contrast in textures. It's like eating a cookie and expecting a chocolate chip and getting a raisin, but dialed up 11. Raw chicken and scallops in ramen noodle water with 10 seasoning packets and no noodles. Add some cut up warm Vienna sausages and I'm in. Spam. Straight from the can, room temperature and extra juicy. Nothing else. Actually, a side of leftover, twice microwaved, unsalted, ketchup-drenched fries would be appropriate. No ketchup. But then sure. Actually, no ketchup would probably make them taste even worse. I like the way you think, yeah, the ketchup makes it easier to distract from how dry and grainy the fries get after the second dose of refrigeration and nuking. The sad thing is, I actually had to eat them once or twice before, and I gotta say, it was not pleasant. Tasted like oil and had the mouthfeel of kinetic sand. I at least had the privilege of salting the crap out of them. One of those savory jello dishes you always see in old cookbooks. One of my neighbor's favorite desserts is lime jello with other green foods in it, including some hidden celery. I didn't have the heart to tell her I'm one of those people who absolutely cannot stand celery. Sounds like my desperate mother's failed attempt at getting her kids to eat veggies. Not gotta work, Mom. Not gotta work. Overcooked, unseasoned filet mignon served on a roof tile instead of a plate, doused in an incredibly overpowering sauce that I thought of in a dream. The meat was cooked last night, thrown in the fridge on the same tray as raw meat, and then boiled before serving on a stove that hasn't been cleaned in 20 years and has a grease trap that looks like it's filled with crude oil. The side is store-bought frozen ravioli reheated in a microwave with canned ragu, but I told him it's fresh and made in-house. The first course is a salad with improperly washed, grilled lettuce, and its dressing is a cultural fusion between two cultures that have no business meeting. The dessert is half a slice of chocolate cake that is clearly from the Cheesecake Factory that I bought a week ago, and I charge him $30 for it. The fork has a bit of dried food stuck to it, and there's gum underneath the table. The menu is the length of a Dostoevsky novel. When questioned, I insist that I made everything that morning and pull out photos to prove it. He doesn't believe me. I call him an egocentric liar who doesn't know what he's talking about. As he leaves, I pocket the tip he left for the waiter. When he loses it and demands to see the chef, you tell him you fired your chef a couple years ago and changed the menu because you know what customers want. You quit your job as a bike mechanic to be the full-time chef maitre d'. I named the microwave Chef Mike and put a chef's toque on top of it. Coincidentally, it is the only chef wearing a hair covering in the back of the house. Chef Mike is one of the busiest cooks in the restaurant. I'd provide him with the best kitchen and the best ingredients. He would be allowed to prepare any one food item of his choosing. This item would be the only thing he could eat for all eternity. Repetition makes the most enjoyable food revolting. He would choose and execute his own hell. An eternity of one meal, over and over again, set to Nickelback on infinite replay. Welcome, Gordon. Enjoy your stay. Username checks out. Microwaved lettuce. Edit, thanks for the gold. Who knew my years as a chef would pay off by knowing how to piss off Gordon Ramsay? There we go, this is what I've been looking for. Is there anything that hasn't been microwaved? The salad. Lamb without lamb sauce. I heard this comment, where's the lamb sauce? Locating the lamb sauce. A tiny piece of the most delicious food in the universe. He'll be tormented for the rest of his life. Nothing else can compare. Everything tastes like sand compared to that. And he'll never have it again. I was thinking similarly. The best thing Gordon has ever cooked, or could ever conceivably cook, followed by the most delicious thing Satan could cook, which would be 1,000,000 times more delicious. Just to let him see the gap between himself and actual perfection. To be fair, he has spoken with humility about other chefs that he said surpassed him, so I think he'd be able to accept being worse. The never tasting anything that good again might be torment, though. If I, being Satan, could see into his soul deep enough, I would divine his true favorite food. The thing that touches his heart through his stomach. I would craft it from the finest ingredients available from Earth, The purest salt, wine of the most excellent vintage, the rarest, most succulent flesh, the richest butter and cream. Whatever it is, whatever his soul food is, I make of it a symphony, a scintillating spectrum of flavors bound with love, a true marriage, a platonic ideal cast in gastronomic chemistry. I would serve it perfectly, in impeccable ambience, an all-encompassing tableau that embodies everything the dish is meant to be, everything it could be. It would touch him in a way that his soul had not felt, since God's loving hands had shaped it since before time began. He would eat it, crying silently, wondering, questing, how could this perfection be, here in the pit where forsaken things go to be punished for their wanting? I, Satan, would dry his tears, thank him for sharing this experience with me, and I would lead him away, back into my kitchen. He would be once again awestruck, whimpering, vulnerable as he walked my polished aisles, admiring, caressing the flawless cutlery and fixtures. All this is yours now, Gordon. This is your reward. I would present him with my recipe cards, expertly bossed on stock beyond the quality of anything earthly, the first one an exact receipt of the meal he has just savored in the depth of his being. All this is yours now, Gordon. You have an eternity to reach the pinnacle. He runs, laughing, not quite believing. Perhaps this is a place of learning, of repentance. Perhaps he may be allowed to serve. Perhaps he may earn his redemption. Perhaps he may taste of that meal again. He runs, something akin to demiurge filling his mind with light as he plots to reconstruct his soul's perfect dish. The pantry is stocked only with boxed frozen tilapia and expired salad oil. Forever.